Are you a part of the Exclusive Club? How about the Exclusive Auto Detailing Club? Today, we meet Jon Lovely with Exclusive Automotive Detailing, and he's going to tell us all about his story and how he got to where he is today and how he's doing phenomenal, beautiful cars, making them look brand new again. Come on in and maybe you can get washed off.
Welcome to the Dayton Approved Podcast with Frank O'Neill. This is where the local Dayton businesses get a spotlight.
Welcome to Dayton Approved, exploring Dayton small businesses and nonprofits with Dayton Discount Furniture. Today we've got Jon Lovely with Exclusive Automotive Detailing. I want to make sure I got that right because I didn't say that right earlier.
Appreciate that.
Jon has been doing car detailing for a very long time now. I'd say a little over a decade. And he has a very interesting and inspiring story that he's going to share with us today. And we all can't wait. Can you wait, Jon? Are you excited?
Oh, I'm losing my mind over here.
I can tell. I can see the excitement pour out. Well, let's start with I always like to start with the mission statement. So we always start with that. That's kind of like the nuts and bolts, the core values of what we're doing here. And I know that your mission statement, to summarize, is delivering top quality services that exceed customers' expectations. So why don't you talk about a little bit what you do? I know you do car detailing, and let's talk about how you do that with this in mind.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, by the way.
Absolutely.
My main goal is quality all the time, and I just want to be able to provide the customer with, exactly what they want and then some. So that's really the main goal.
Yeah.
And growing. Growth is always good. So.
Right, of course. Growth is great, for sure. I mean, that's what we all want in businesses, and especially for small businesses. So
absolutely.
I can't say that growth isn't good. But as far as like delivering top quality services, why don't we talk about that? Like, what are some of the services that you do that make it top quality compared to, let's just say, like going to the guy down the street or the guy next door or whatever it is that, just puts a little bit of turtle wax on their car and there you go type of deal.
I want to say the right answer to that would be just the proper training and experience over the years. That experience plays a huge role in it.
Right.
And constantly trying to learn more about the processes that you do. If you're not willing to learn and adapt and get better, then you're not going to. I mean, it's that simple.
Right.
So I always try to dive into the process and refine it. That way I can give that customer a better quality at the end of the day. So. Right.
Now, I know you do like waxes and stuff like that, but that's not really what you're into. It's more of the ceramic coating, which is a whole type of process, and you got to go to school, and you kind of learn that. There's
a process for the training on that. I don't recommend anybody just jumping into it and trying it.
Right.
But the ceramic coating aspect requires a lot more than what people realize. There's prep involved. It's usually a 2-day process, or at least it is for me. I spend a whole day prepping a vehicle.
Right.
And that's where a lot of that specialized, equipment and training comes in. You're not just applying a product to a car. You are resurfacing the top coat on a vehicle. And that can be a tricky thing. If you don't know what you're doing, you can definitely cause more harm than good.
Right.
You thin out clear coats, and now you're respraying or doing things that you're not capable of doing, or just don't know how to do. So it's a very specialized process.
Right. And I know that like part of the prep work is like paint correction.
Right.
So I don't think a lot of people understand all that type of stuff. So like talking to the average Joe, like
there's a lot of bad information out there about it. When you say paint correction, most people think you're painting.
Right.
That's not always the case. Now, certain situations you may find yourself, doing that if you're capable of doing it. But paint correction basically is trying to eliminate all of the visual imperfections in your paint, scratches, swirls, things of that nature. You don't realize how those things really affect the overall appearance of your car until you've had it done to your vehicle. And then, you're like, oh, wow, this makes a massive difference. There's more to this than what I realized. So that's where, specialized training comes into play.
Right.
Or just the years of experience. So
I think a lot of people too, I think what they do is they think that like either like waxing or ceramic coating is kind of like just really getting your stuff clean. And that's not really the case, is it? It's like really more of like almost putting like another clear coat on your car, right?
in a sense, so it's not a miracle product. I always have to explain that to people. It's not going to prevent your car from getting scratched. It's not going to completely stop your paint from looking swirled. The whole idea, the concept behind ceramic coating is locking in all that work that you've done to make it look that good.
Right,
So once we've done the paint correction, we want it to stay that nice.
right,
And, you want to apply something over top of your work to protect it.
Right.
So we use waxes, clear coats, ceramic coatings, things like that. Now, those products, they're costly, but they're protecting your investment, your vehicle.
right.
The way that works is it's creating another layer of protection for the clear coat.
Okay.
So it's going to slow down the rate in which UV lights, from the sun and all that, are causing the damage to your clear coats.
Yeah.
So there's a huge misconception that car washes cause all the damage to your clear coats.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that they don't, because they do, but the sun is like one of your worst enemies.
Oh, yeah.
It beats on the clear coat and it fades it, and there's all sorts of things that can happen, so the idea is to protect that.
Right.
Now, with that, one of the big benefits is ease of maintenance. So once you've had your car coated, if you're properly maintaining it, hand washing it at home or having a shop like ours do it, it's going to hold up and it's going to last and it's going
Right.
to work like it's supposed to. But one of the biggest things for us is we're able to maintain that vehicle, lay eyes on it, make sure the products are working, making sure it still looks the way we want it to look. And it's taking an hour wash and cutting that down to 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
So it's much more effective in the sense of ease of maintenance.
Yeah.
And then, you get the added protection. So with those things combined, you're prolonging the appearance of your vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So-
mean, I can definitely see a clear difference with ceramic coating compared to waxing, for sure. Waxing it looks good for maybe like 15 days to a month, and then after that, it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, so you got to keep in mind that wax is it's a product that's going to break down quicker because it's a natural product for the most part. And waxes typically look pretty good on a car for the most part because they will help hide imperfections in your clear coats and things of that nature because they have fillers in them, and it's like the total opposite of ceramic coating. Ceramic
Yeah.
coating doesn't have all that in it, so it's not hiding anything. If
Gotcha.
if the clear coat looks good, it's because you put in the prep work to do that. So you're not putting a Band-Aid over it, basically.
Right. Yeah. You're
You're
actually
actually
fixing the
correcting
problem.
the
Yeah.
problem.
Correcting it. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, the other part is exceeding customer expectations. So your favorite thing to do is get a car completely cleaned up, finished, and then a customer coming in and going, wow, I can't believe this is my car, or this is
Yeah.
the car that I gave you.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best parts about what we do, to
Yeah.
be honest. Just to see that initial reaction. So
And how often, honestly, does that happen?
99% of the time,
There you go. There you
And
go. Now you're doing it right.
That's probably the most rewarding aspect of this, just knowing that not only did you meet that customer's expectations, but you just blew it out of the water.
Right.
And that creates a loyal customer.
Absolutely. That's building a
so-
relationship.
Right.
Yeah, it's much better than, as we've always said, relationship business is much better than transactional business.
Absolutely.
We're not looking for the guy that's trying to come in, get the cheapest deal possible, and then, never
So-
talk to you again.
Learn how to sell your customers based on the value in which you provide that customer.
Right.
And you can do that on a personal level.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's what this show's all about.
Yeah,
Showing the personality.
absolutely. Well, I don't really have a personality, Frank.
I don't believe you're a robot that just cleans cars. Yes, much clean cars.
Some people would argue that.
Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Well, that jumps right into our story, or I should say your story, or our portion where you get to talk about your story. So tell us about how you got started. When did you realize this is something you wanted to do, and how did you get here?
Well, I was 18 years old, and let me back up. As a kid, I grew up watching my dad. Really, he inspired me. He was always in the garage working on cars and trying to make them look as good as he could. And I seen people over the years compliment him. And I seen the effect that it had on him. And I was, I'm thinking to myself, like, that's really cool, because that plays a big part in who he is. So,
Yeah.
And I looked up to that. So I guess naturally I just kind of fell into enjoying it myself. And as I got older, I had my own vehicle when I was probably 15, 16.
I did as well.
Yeah, well. So, I was big into keeping my vehicles looking good as well, and I got to feel that same sense of pride and, accomplishment that I witnessed him experiencing, so that was kind of like one of the driving factors, I guess, that made everything take off.
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't even realize it then, It's
Right.
just, like a lot of people, I wanted a safe, secure job, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So when I was 18, I took a job for GE building, jet engine components as a welder. And I absolutely loved it, In the beginning, I absolutely loved it. Over time, I found out that, my brain is always problem solving. I always go after a bigger challenge, new things. And in that industry, there's room for growth, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of repetitive work.
Right.
And I didn't feel challenged.
Yeah, I can only imagine. There's only so many things you can weld. Maybe if it was broken or something, but
Yes,
realistically.
For the most part, you were doing the same. You were building the same parts day in and day out. So that gets kind of boring, and you get to a point where it's not a challenge anymore.
Yeah.
And you find yourself losing motivation, losing drive, asking yourself what your purpose is at that point.
Right, right.
'Cause
What's new? What's next?
I don't enjoy
What's
it
exciting?
anymore. This ain't fun anymore.
Yeah, this is just, I could do this in my sleep.
Yeah, so, that kind of played a role, I guess you could say, in what would end up being a downhill spiral for me.
Yeah.
I think when a person starts to lose that sense of self, so to speak,
Right.
They turn to other avenues, and my choice of that was pills.
Yeah.
It started off in a way that, I was going to a doctor. I still do have legitimate back problems that cause me a ton of pain. But I went to a doctor with the hopes of finding relief, I guess, or an answer.
Yeah. Solutions.
Yeah, so that started the whole process, I started abusing those medications.
Yeah.
Didn't really realize that at the time, or I wasn't willing to accept that, but in the back of your mind you kind of know. But I battled that for years, and I hit a turning point in my life, and I decided to make changes, and a lot of those changes came with inspiration from other people.
Yeah.
So I ended up losing my job at GE because of all that. I was letting it affect me in
Yeah.
such a way that it was just turning everything upside down. So I knew that I had lost my drive, my motivation for that. And I figured this is a perfect opportunity to figure out what it is that I did want to do, and really push. So I went back to my roots, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Cars have always been a passion, and I knew I wanted to do something with cars. Wasn't 100% sure at the time. And and I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I remember one day I'm sitting there actually detailing somebody's car, and the light bulb just kind of went off, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
You love doing this.
Yeah.
You know, so make something of it.
Right.
So that's kind of how that started, you know.
Yeah, so you were doing this stuff on the weekend, basically.
Yeah, more or less, you know, and I had this aha moment where I realized, like, man, I can make more money on a weekend detailing cars than I was in an entire week
Yeah.
building jet engine parts, you know, and I actually love this. Like, the money wasn't a driving factor, although it definitely motivated me,
Well, of course.
you know, but the thing
It's
is
a
that-
huge consideration.
Right, right. But I found that sense of drive again, you know, and something that I was truly passionate about. So I just decided to pursue that.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people, you know, when I decide to do something, I go at it with everything I have. So, you know, it's been really cool to make major life changes, you know, and be able to sit back now and see how that all panned out for the better. And I'm so thankful for that, you know. And
Yeah.
all the
Well, here we
people.
are now. Think about
Yeah,
that.
Yeah. If you'd asked me like 3 years ago, you know, would you see yourself doing this? And I'd look at you and think he's crazy, you know.
Right.
So this is really cool.
Well, that's great. So that was about, you said that was around that you welded until about age of 27.
Yeah, it was, I want to say 2018, roughly.
And then that's when you started doing the car detailing stuff. You did it at home primarily.
Yeah, so I was still welding on the side, you
Okay.
know, and working on cars in any way that I could,
Right.
you know. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I was in a very dark time, I guess you could say, during those few years. And that's when I was really making a lot of, you know, choices and changes and things like that, trying to work on myself,
Yeah.
you know. And I was able to do that, thankfully. And I didn't do that alone. I had a lot of help with that, with
Yeah.
good people, you know. So, yeah, you know, I was still welding here and there, and I started detailing where I could, you know, if the opportunity presented itself. And I just really decided that this would be a good move, you
Yeah.
know. So that's the avenue that I decided to go down.
Yeah, so about, you were telling me around age 32 is when you decided to say, you know, it's time to get this thing going really good because you're like, let's get this building.
Yeah, I knew that because of the side jobs that I was doing, I had a small client base at that point. And, you know, as it always does, word of mouth takes off. That's
Right.
like, I swear to this day, it's still the best form of advertisement ever.
Oh, for sure it is.
You know, I mean, it comes back to that personal connection. And I knew that I had enough, you know, clientele already, repeat people that would have me detail their stuff, that I could probably make a legitimate business out of this and grow it.
Right.
And so, yeah, by chance one day I just happened to be out and about running errands, and I seen this building for lease, you know, and wouldn't you know, it was your old building of all things. So that's kind of cool, you know.
Yeah.
But
It is kind of interesting because I would have never thought, like, okay, I'm going to leave this building, and then the next guy that gets in this building, I'm actually going to, like, get to know and, like, be friends with.
Right.
And, like, and, you know, we be supporting each other's
Absolutely.
businesses. Who would have thought? Like,
well, you know, that goes with, you know, let me go back to my life changes and things. You know,
Yeah.
I would have never had this opportunity had I not made those changes.
Yeah.
You know, so I can sit here and look at situations like this from a completely different perspective now. You know, and that's
Yeah.
amazing because I take so much away from that.
right.
You know, and that's part of that growth. So it's really cool to, you know, have people like you come into my life and be a part of that, you know, so I appreciate that.
No,
It's
I mean,
really cool.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, man. Like, for real. Like, I really do appreciate that. And, I mean, what's interesting is your story is your story, but what's kind of crazy is that there's a lot of people that have very similar stories like that. So I think, more importantly, you're an inspiration for that. Like, realistically, I mean, somebody might see this and say, hey, you know what? He did it, I can do it, you know? And that's what we're all about, right?
I try to inspire people wherever I can. You know,
Yeah.
I had a lot of people inspiring me, and I see the effect that it had.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
real.
So, oh, absolutely. And I know a lot of people are afraid to talk about their, stories.
Yeah.
And it is hard, to open up sometimes in certain situations, but I want people to know the story because I know so many people can relate.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that it'll, be that breakthrough moment
Yeah.
for them. And
Yeah.
they can say, hey, you can be an average dude in the struggle and turn it around.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very true. And it's very, very inspirational too. And what's interesting, John, too, is honestly, I didn't know your full story or all this stuff until tonight. But I would have never guessed. That's what's amazing about it. And people don't realize that either. Is they think that they're stuck in this situation or in this spot in life, and this is it. And the truth is it's not. It's just a damn mud hole that you're spinning wheels in.
I mean, we're all in this world together, and I find it a much better place if you just do your part and help other people in similar situations.
Right.
And that was one of the things that really helped turn everything around in my life. Was I met somebody who I would have never suspected they had been through the exact same situation.
Yeah.
And when I found out they had, it was a game changer because I realized we're just human, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all gonna screw up, but you got to learn from that.
Right.
What can you take away? And
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. I'm trying not to get emotional talking about it because it takes me back, but it's real.
Yeah.
And I want to, like I said, I want to be that inspiration to somebody. So yeah.
Well, it's good that you're emotional because I just had a conversation with my girlfriend. She said I'm not emotional enough. So
I'm typically not.
It's
man,
good that
but,
you're able to be emotional because
I'm usually able to turn it off and on when I want to, but when I really go back and think about things, it hits you.
Yeah. Yeah, because
So,
it's like it's one of those like, damn, here I am.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, that's also when you started your LLC.
Yeah.
So you started your LLC, and that was about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And since then, you've said you've not 100% sure, but probably have done 1,500 to 2,000 vehicles now.
That's probably on the low end of things. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is really, truly amazing.
Yeah. I never would have imagined it taking off to this point, and I look back at it and I'm so thankful, for every opportunity that came along. Every customer that came through the door was another opportunity to show what I can do,
Right.
to show you that I truly care about your vehicle, and I want to express that through my work. That's where I find a lot of peace within. And, I go out of my way to express that to people. So, 3 years ago, I was scared to death, thinking, how am I gonna survive? How am I gonna pull in people?
Mm-hmm.
There's a million thoughts going through your mind. It's absolutely terrifying.
Oh yeah.
That's why 99% of people don't do it.
Right.
Like they're afraid to jump. They're afraid to take that leap of faith. And sometimes you just have to. You got to learn to set things aside, your emotions, the fear. And just jump. I think Steve Harvey was the one that said that. You never know until you jump.
Right. Just do it,
dude. It is terrifying. It's like, it was scarier than standing there with my wife when our daughter was being born. Because I knew that was under control.
Right.
And this is new territory, and I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had to jump, and I made the choice to do that, and. Sometimes I'm a firm believer that if you just let things work themselves out, it'll always work. You know, so that's kind of where I was at.
It's interesting how that does pan out that way.
Yeah, I didn't have the answers. I didn't have anybody that could provide those answers. So I had no choice at that point. Sit back and put it in God's hands, hopefully he gets you through, like that's all you can do. So, and
it worked out.
And it worked, so thank God, like.
It's interesting because a lot of people get to that point. It is definitely a frightening point to get to, but it's almost the same success story that I hear. It's, You know, when I finally let go, it's amazing how things just started happening.
I know you hear people say things all the time like, chase your dreams. And, and I get that, that goes to the, taking that gamble, that risk and jumping. But I feel like a lot of people aggressively chase their dreams to the point that it almost disorients them.
Right.
And then they end up falling flat on their face, if that makes sense, so yeah, just let things go, let it flow, and set your worries to the side. We all have our freak out moments,
Right.
and but if you remind yourself to just take a step back, relax, breathe, let things work themselves out. They always do,
Yeah.
and it never fails.
All right.
So
Well, that is very true and great advice, and what I would like to say, actual wisdom, which we all are trying to learn and master, I think. Well, that brings us to, first off, I want to say your story is phenomenal. I'm really appreciative of you sharing today. You didn't have to share all that, but you did, and that's cool. So I commend you for that. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
For doing that. But let's move to the third point here, and that is local community. How do we, how does your business contribute to the local community and local economy? I know one of the things that we talked about before the show was that you use local vendors for your products.
yeah, so we, ideally we want to use all products that are made in the U.S. and if I'm being completely
yes.
honest, there are products that we use that are made in other countries that are superior products to that particular market. So obviously, quality is everything to me. So even if I feel that, a product that I'm using is, say, from Germany is a better product, that's what I'm using.
Well, yeah, you
So
got to.
there's that aspect of it, but I purchase all of those products through local vendors and suppliers.
Right.
I want to feed their families too, in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to be giving my money to a big corporate company when I know I can get the same product and quality from a local guy that's a small business owner just like me. And,
Right.
And I understand that struggle. So if I can contribute to that, then that's the route that I like to go. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like us with, with Dayton Discount Furniture. We're not making furniture in our backyard.
right.
So, I mean, but we are local. And we're getting it from everywhere. I mean, let's just be honest. If we're not getting something directly from another country, we're getting a part or, something. Maybe it's
Right.
assembled here.
Yeah.
But it's somehow, some fashion, got another country involved some way.
Yeah, and then another thing we like to do is recommend other businesses that we trust.
Right.
Businesses that I know will meet or exceed my expectations.
Absolutely. A referral is very, very important.
Yeah,
Because
so-
you're putting your name with another business and you're giving that your customer,
Yeah.
which has your expectations. So they are, it's a very vulnerable situation, actually.
Yeah, because you're taking a big risk on your
Yeah.
reputation. Because if that customer ends up not being happy with the
Yep.
results, then
They could
that's-
not
that
use
come
you
back on
again.
You,
Yeah.
So, but my biggest thing is that I have a handful of resources that I genuinely trust. I know these guys put out good work. So if I have customers come in and they say, "Hey, do you know anybody that can replace my cracked windshield?" Knowing that I don't provide that service,
Right.
I will absolutely recommend them.
Yeah.
To the right guy. Personally, I like to use a guy out of Tip City. I think he's called the Glass Man.
Okay.
They're phenomenal. They'll come to you and they use quality products. Very fair and reasonable people. So, again, another local business owner. So
Right.
if I can help him, provide that service, then I'm sure at some point, somebody may ask him, "Hey, do you know somebody that details?"
Right.
And he's going to send them our way. So it's a
Yeah, the old
win-win.
I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Absolutely.
It's how you get out there, and that's that networking.
Yep. And then another thing we like to do is, the car shows. And,
Yeah. Well, also, I was going to say one of the things before the car shows was you partner with a couple different wholesalers. I know that you deal with the Ohio Auto Group, SVG, and U-Haul. So tell us a little bit about Ohio Auto Group. I know you said this is like a newer thing you got into.
Yeah, this is very recent. So a good friend of mine, Jason Friedman, he owns Friedman Home Improvements, he'd be an awesome guest on your show. He had a connection, somebody that he knew, and to make a long story short, somebody was, I guess they were, basically wanting to retire from detailing, so it was kind of a business referral kind of situation. So that detailer was getting out of the business, and he recommended us, to take over, the work that he was doing for Ohio Auto Group. So Tony at Ohio Auto Group, he got a hold of me, and we were able to get a plan in place and, try things out. And so far it's been great, so a vehicle wholesaler, they go out and they basically buy cars from auctions or wherever they can find them that are in good shape. And, they'll fix them up and sell them to used car dealerships with a lot. There's so many around here, the opportunities there are endless basically. So I really wanted to tap into that side of the market, not just car lots. You know, there's always a person,
the guy that's providing the used cars to the car lots.
Exactly. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's a really cool market because nobody really has tapped into that.
No.
So why not? Let's give it a shot. So what I didn't realize in the moment was the opportunities that could come of that, in that growth process. So it dawns on me.
Because a used car lot will definitely use these guys, but a used car lot also gets trade-ins.
Exactly. So that's where I was at with it. Was, we get done detailing the car for the wholesaler. The used car lots are picking them up. So now I'm face to face with these folks. That's my opportunity to build another connection there. Exactly what you were saying. They get trade-ins all the time. So if they're happy with the results they're getting on that end, likely they will bring me cars to do on the dealership.
Well, yeah, and then also if you're looking for a company that wants consistency.
Right.
So you want one car look awesome, and then the customers go, well, I don't like this, but let me try this one. And it could be two cars of the same model. And then they're like, wait, the other one's way cleaner. I want that one because it's cleaner, so can we get this one that clean?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we got U-Haul on board. That was like my original contract.
Fleet contract, I guess you could say.
Yeah, fleet vehicle set up there. That was kind of funny how that all worked out, but I was trying to think outside the box, and I wanted to target companies that were using fleet vehicles, and that was my goal. But what I didn't realize were, there's companies that they have tons of fleet vehicles, and they pull them in and out of service and replace them yearly. So it's like an endless cycle. It's just nonstop. U-Haul, they typically pull vehicles out of service pretty early on, usually within a year or two. So I struck up a deal with them. That keeps me busy literally year round.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nonstop, But basically what they do is they'll retire a vehicle and pull it out of service, and then they auction them. So what we do is we step in, we basically try to get that vehicle looking like a brand new vehicle.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people involved in that process. It's not just the detailing. You got paintless dent removal guys. You've got body shop guys. We all have a part to play there. So it's nonstop repetitive work, but at the same time, it's, it keeps you afloat when, the hard months come around, which is usually during the winter. So.
Right, of course. And we'll talk more about that too in the future. But yeah, that brings us to our next point, which is, any recent successes or milestones that you've achieved. I know that you were saying, success for you is, kind of defined a little bit differently.
Yeah, so, during that period of my life that I'm not proud of, but was a major turning point in my life that I learned a lot of things, about myself. I started kind of journeying down this spiritual path, I guess, trying to find myself again.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I realized was I don't defy success in a materialistic kind of way. You know, I define success as, you know, being able to come home every day and being greeted by my wife and daughter with nothing but joy and enthusiasm. You know, that's success to me. You know,
Yeah.
so I don't necessarily define success in the material sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, during this process, there's been a lot of me finding me, I guess. You know, so I guess in a way, I just look at it from a totally different perspective. You know, what success really is.
Yeah, so it's not about the material things in life. It's more about
It's a
the
personal thing.
Yeah, the
for
more
sure.
about the intangibles, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was a successful day because morally I know I did the right thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand that. It's definitely you know, definitely a different perspective than compared to saying, you know, hey, I just, you know, did the 5,000th car, you know, I'm successful, you know. I get what you're saying on that. Do you have any, I know you got some customer stories that you were talking to me about that possibly that you want to talk about was, you know, some customer success stories.
Yeah, so, you know, you sometimes in life you bump into people that really inspire you, you know, and sometimes they come into your life in weird ways or ways that you just wouldn't expect. I've had several customers that, you know, they come into your business looking for your services, and little do you realize at that time that, you know, that person's going to play a huge role in your life, you know.
Yeah.
And it just flips your world upside down, you know, in a good way. So early on in business, you know, one of the first customers I had come in was Jason, you know, Friedman Home Improvements. And right away, you know, we kind of hit things off on a very personal level. I did a little bit of business for him, and it worked out great, you know, and it's led to so many other opportunities, you know. So here I thought I was going to provide this guy with a typical service, you know, that we would normally provide, and it turned out to be a super deep friendship. You
Yeah.
know, like he is now not just a friend, he's my family. He's a mentor, somebody I go to often, you know, for advice. And so I guess as far as like having, you know, a cool customer interaction, you know, I look at it a little different, you know. So yeah, the guy's got some really cool cars and things that I get to have a lot of time with, and that's really cool, you know.
Yeah.
But I look at it much deeper than that, you know. So and I've had several customers that, you know, that same scenario is played out with, you know. And now I've got this little group of people in my life that are key players, so to speak, you know. And
You build a team.
yeah, you know, you do. And you know, like they say, there's no I in team.
Yeah.
We'll leave the rest of that out. But so, you know, I've realized that all those key players, they all share very similar things. They're all business owners, or, you know, we all have common interests and things, but we grow together. You know, we look out for each other. So that's probably the best customer kind of success story I guess I could give you. Is
Yeah.
it wasn't just a business thing. You
Yeah.
know, it's a much deeper personal thing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a really cool experience to develop that along
Yeah.
the way.
You know, I never knew that you met him just by him coming in one day saying, I need something done. I thought you knew him before.
No, the crazy guy actually rode his motorcycle down to my shop, and it was like -10 degrees outside to have me work on it. So I knew we were going to get along. He's pretty cool. But no, Jason's like a big brother to me, man. He's been a huge inspiration. And I've told him this to his face, you know, like, you single-handedly saved my life, dude.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not going to get into that a whole lot, but it goes back to the dark time in my life, you know, where I was struggling with things. Jason came into my life and played a huge role in that turnaround, that pivotal point, you know.
Yeah.
So he has a special place for sure. But I mean, the dude's he's super cool. He's down to earth, and because of him, I've gained so many other things from the business aspect too.
Yeah.
So it's been really neat.
Yeah, yeah. I've had I've had a couple of employees in my past that they were struggling with certain things. Not necessarily anything crazy, but just certain things, I guess you could say. And I've talked to them, and I was just open, honest, just was real, and it clicked for them. And they've come back years later and said, this conversation we had, it changed my life.
Yeah.
And you just never know. Like, at the time, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to feel that, hey, I'm doing something right. I know.
Absolutely.
Because it just shows that, hey, I'm not crazy.
Right.
I mean, we all are. Don't get me wrong.
It's to what degree though,
Right,
right?
exactly.
That's the whole
yeah.
thing.
So, I mean, it's really humbling, and I don't know how to explain it. It feels, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm an awesome person because I did this. No, it's like, it's heartfelt. It's something where it's like, wow, I really made an impact in someone's life. That's full circle, man. That's like awesome.
Yeah.
Because I know I've had people do that for me. So to be able to do that and give back, and it be genuine, it really does. It does do something.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of why I try to open up to people about my history. I hope that it'll show that you can turn things into you can turn every negative situation into a good situation. You can
right.
turn things around. So yeah, I mean, if you meet people along the way that inspired you, just. It's not hard to be a good person, so
Yeah.
inspire
Just be
somebody
good.
else, like if you can, but yeah, I mean, that's just, it's one of them things that you learn along the way.
Right. Yeah,
It's hard to explain that to somebody that hasn't been through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can tell this story to people, man, that can't relate, and they look at you like you're nuts.
Yeah.
But you come across that one person that you can
They get it.
inspire, and they get it, and you get to experience that with them. So I try to return that to the people,
Yeah, it's special. It really is. I guess it's the best way to explain it. I mean, it's hard to put in words.
It
but
is. It's very hard to put
It's
in
unique,
words.
special. I don't know. I feel like there's 20 words I could use to describe it, but none of them are going to be right.
The biggest thing is you learn a lot about yourself in that process.
Yeah, you do.
And
they say the best way to learn something is to teach someone it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because you realize when you're teaching it how much you already know, and you build that weird self-confidence. Mm-hmm. And then you also learn things like, wait, I need to dig deeper.
Yeah,
this is where I need to dig deeper.
Sometimes you get into them conversations and you're talking, and all of a sudden you're making connections that you hadn't made before.
Right.
It clicks. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're
it's like
opening
all of
up.
it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I say open up and talk to people about it.
Yeah.
It's only going to benefit you.
It's true. It really is.
So.
Well, that brings us to the next point, and that is some challenges you face as a small business owner. I know that you were telling me that one of the biggest challenges is the weather. You're more of like a seasonal business.
Yeah, so, I mean, during the summer months, you're usually extremely busy. But the biggest hurdle that we have to overcome in this industry is the off season, as what we, how we refer to it. Typically your winter months. Most people don't want to get their car detailed knowing that the weather might change, and then they're going to be driving through salt and snow and everything else, and it was a big waste of time or money, because
Right.
that's how most people see it. And I understand that. So we have to find ways to evolve and create, another source of consistent cash flow to the business. Like,
Yeah.
The bills don't stop coming in, even
No.
though business slows down.
Nope, they keep on coming.
That goes back to that fleet, vehicle setup that we got going on now, and dealing with U-Haul and all of them. So those are the other big businesses and companies that help keep us afloat. you know, so we still do a lot of off the street type, you know, work for people, you know, your day-to-day customers and whatnot, but that's not guaranteed every day, you know. I mean, I'd love to make it, you know, to that point, sure, but in the meantime, I'm going through that process, and you know, that's why we have the fleet vehicles and vehicles like that. So those things really keep us going in the off season. So
Yeah.
that's really our biggest hurdle is
Making sure you got enough business in the
just
winter.
making sure you got business coming in that off season. So yeah, besides that, man, it's just, you know, constantly trying to learn and perfect your processes.
Yeah.
So
Well, tell us a little bit about collaborating with other businesses and whatnot. I know that one of the things you mentioned a little earlier was car shows.
yeah, so I mean, that's a great way to promote and connect with other businesses. And that's a great thing, you know. You sometimes it's hard to see how a car show would, you know, potentially build you a relationship
Yeah.
with somebody in a completely different industry. But when you share common ground with people and your business relates to something that they enjoy just as much as you do, you know, that's another opportunity, you know, for you to create more
Yeah, it's great
you know,
networking.
work. So yeah, by doing that, you know, you start to figure out there's people that are really good at one thing or people that are really good at another, you know, and customers come in and, you know, they ask for, like I said earlier, things that we may not provide, but we can point them in the right direction to
Right.
somebody who can, you know, so yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately going to be really good for your customer, which is going to be good for you. And overall, just good for business. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what more to say on that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's definitely a good thing. Well, what are some projects, initiatives that you're excited about? What's going on? What's in the future? What's on the horizon, we should say?
well, let's see, you know, the automotive world is probably my first true love, so to speak, but
Yeah.
I love aviation just as much as that. So I'm trying to break into the aviation side of the business. You know, it's a very, very niche market. But I figure, you know, I love aviation and I have a lot of experience with it. So I'm hoping to kind of utilize that experience a little bit to leverage, you know, getting into that industry. So for me, that's a huge goal. You know, it may not be anything crazy, but for me personally, I feel like that's a big milestone. You know, so
Yeah.
I really want to break into, you know, taking care of personal aircraft. You know, I have a lot of customers that have personal aircraft, and I'm hoping that
Now, is there a different process for detailing an aircraft
There's
compared to?
I mean, the overall process, you're doing the same types of thing, you know, that you would to a car. You just have to take extreme caution and care with the aviation side. People may not realize that, you know, airplanes have hundreds of sensors on the outside that you don't even notice. You know, they blend right in. So small mistakes can cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of care there, but I would definitely recommend being trained, you know, in the aviation world because it's totally different. So it's going to have its challenges for sure. You know, I'm a little rusty myself with the aviation stuff, so it's going to take a minute to really get back into it, you know, but
Well, you might be able to do that during the winter too.
I don't know. Have you ever been in an airplane hangar in the middle of the winter? It's not warm.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know.
Nobody flies in the winter, man.
That's true, unless they're trying to fly to Florida.
How was that trip, by the way?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. We'll talk more about that though. You know,
Off the air.
Yeah. But it was great. I really did enjoy it, and can't say enough good about it.
Yeah.
Any other initiatives or projects you got going on that you wanted to share?
Oh man. I got so many things on my mind, I can't even keep my thoughts straight anymore.
Well, that's all right. Well, we're getting close to finishing up, so I always like to tell people this is a good time for you to tell us about how can people get a hold of you, John? What's the best way if they want to use your services?
To be honest with you, I don't have my phone on me very often when I'm in the shop because I'm a one-man band for the most part,
Yeah.
so the best thing you could do is stop in person.
There you go.
Give us a call, leave us a message. If we don't answer, we'll try to get back to you. But
What's the phone number?
phone number there is 937-874-5007.
Okay.
And we're at 636 Sport Street in Fairborn.
Okay.
You can get on our website. That's exclusiveada.com. We've got Facebook, Instagram. We do some TikTok videos, just try to create that personal
Yeah.
connection with people so they can actually see what we do. Biggest thing is, if you're a past customer or possibly a future customer, spread the word.
Yeah.
Leave
Word of
those-
mouth is huge.
Leave those reviews. I mean, that stuff's worth its weight in gold.
Oh, yeah.
Just give honest, solid reviews. That's one of the best things you can do to
Yeah.
help us as a small business. So.
Well, cool. So that leaves us to our last point, which is I know you actually have something prepared here for, wanting to highlight anything that you want to discuss that you didn't get to discuss already and, kind of leave us on a positive note here.
Yeah, so, first off, let me, thank you personally for having me here. And,
Yeah.
I appreciate the continued support from the community and the customers. That's everything to me. So, going back to what we were saying earlier about taking that leap of faith and jumping, I had a lot of help through this process, and I want to return that in some way, so to any of those people that might hear this and they might be in a similar situation, don't let that stop you from doing what you truly want to do, or finding that purpose in life. If that's where you're at, if you're struggling with that, or, like I did with addiction or whatever, don't let your past define your future, basically. You're going to have a lot of critics along the way, trust me.
Yeah.
But you got to learn to set your emotions aside when it comes to that stuff and not let it affect your decision making. You're listening to your intuition and doing what you want to do. So jump, don't let it
jump.
stop you. You got to jump. Steve Harvey said it,
Yeah.
and I took a chance on that, myself, and I was absolutely terrified, and it worked, so I guess my words of wisdom, to anybody would be, just take that risk. It's worth it. It really is, but you got to be willing to take the initiative and do it. So
Yeah, I always say bet on yourself.
absolutely. And I don't know, I could go on with this for days, really. So I'm just trying to keep it kind of short right now, but
You got plenty of time. You can talk more about it.
I'll start drifting and we'll be all over the place. No, so, I mean, you're going to go through a lot of ups and downs, in this process. And that's what it is. It's a process. It's a never-ending process. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, try to learn as much as you can every time something happens, whether it's good or bad. There's something positive to take away from that can help you later on. Don't throw in the towel. Don't give up. Find a way.
Yeah.
When you can tell yourself and believe it that failure's not an option, man, you'll push. You'll figure out a way to do things that you never thought you could do.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
Don't
easy.
accept the excuses.
Right, and take accountability for your actions and your thoughts and all that. All that stuff comes into play. So it's easy for people that might be on the fence about taking that jump. It may be easy for them to sit back and hear people like us talking and be like, well, that's easy for you to say, well, it is now. It is now, but
It wasn't then.
It took a lot of work to get there. You know, it's not an easy process, you know, so we're average people just like you. You know, we've all made mistakes in the past, and you know, a few of us are able to overcome that with help from other people, you know, and if you take that jump and you find yourself in that situation and it works for you, my biggest piece of advice would be to pay that forward, you know, return the favor. When you meet those people that need your inspiration, go out of your way to inspire them.
Yeah.
You know, really push them. So,
Yeah.
and I've started that process, you know, so I can tell you personally that is by far one of the most rewarding feelings that you will ever experience. So, yeah, that's my advice. Just be a good person and help people, you know, every chance you get.
Well, words of wisdoms and great advice. John, I want to thank you again for being on the show. I hope you had fun. I hope it wasn't as, torturing as you thought it was going to be.
It was. I'm not going to lie, dude. I'm sitting here like losing my mind right now. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. For real. I really do.
I appreciate the opportunity, man.
All right. All right, John, till next time, we'll see you soon.
All right, we'll see you.
All right.
Subscribe and follow to our Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to sign up for our email list and receive an email to watch the show Wednesday at 8 a.m. Do you know a great Dayton business that you would like to see on the show? Visit our website at DaytonApproved.com and click on the Contact tab and tell us who you'd like to see.